Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Longinusa, welcoming you to another edition of Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where industry leaders, golf professionals, and legends all come and discuss the great game we love so much. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our host to tell us who's next on the tee. Chris, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joe. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming back and joining me today on Next on the Tee. We are brought to you by the great folks over at the French Lick Resort. You can find them online at FrenchLick.com, and our new friends, the Leather Shop, you can find them online at the-leather-shop.com. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I get the privilege of having Dr. Joe Parent back with me. You know him as the author of several books, including Zen Golf and Zen Putting. He's got a new book out called The Best Diet Book Ever, The Zen of Losing Weight. We'll talk about how we can get our minds right with respect to losing weight. We can also talk about how we can relax our minds and calm ourselves when we're out on the golf course, looking back at some of the great things that he shared with us in Zen Golf and Zen Putting. Plus some techniques, to really, as those negative thoughts, and negative thoughts creep in our mind not only on the golf course, but they do as well when we're talking about eating and eating right. So we'll talk about blocking all of that stuff out when Doc joins me here in just a few moments. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. It's going to be another very insightful show. I'm so glad you're here to take the journey with me again this morning. But let's start the show off by helping you start your mornings off right, and that's by going over and checking out our friends at Aroma Ridge, because they offer an array of the finest mountain-grown coffees that you're going to find anywhere. You can find them online at aromaridge.com. Their secret? Hand-selected beans from a variety of coffee-producing countries from around the world. They roast those beans to perfection for you by their very own roast master. Their coffees are roasted. When I say this, it is specifically for you because it's to order, right? If you like a little flavor in your coffees, I do, they can get you just about any flavor that you can imagine. You can even create your own by mixing and matching flavors. I'm currently drinking their Wicked Jack's Tavern Butter Rum coffee, which is fantastic. And not only are their coffees great, but they're fantastic people as well. You're not going to find better people and a better tasting coffee anywhere on the planet. Check them out again online, aromaridge.com. Next on the Tee is brought to you by our friends over at the French Lick Resort up in French Lick, Indiana. Folks, you hear me talking about it every single week here on Next on the Tee, but it is a spectacular resort to both play golf and to just relax and enjoy yourself. You won't find a better place anywhere on the planet than the French Lick Resort. Go to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself. Let's hear a word about our friends over there.
Now's the time to plan that golf getaway you've been dreaming about at French Lick Resort. We have new Golf Academy packages for 2016, guaranteed to take your game to the next level. Try our one-day Quick Fix Academy for golf emergencies. For more in-depth learning, try the Game Changer, designed to make you a better player. Our staff professionals are ready to work with you at French Lick Resort. Did you know there's only one place in the country that you can play courses designed by two members of the World Golf Hall of Fame on the same property? The Pete Dye and Donald Ross courses at French Lick Resort make us an ultimate golf destination for 2016. Check out the Ultimate Golf Package, the Hall of Fame Package, and other great offerings at FrenchLick.com. Let 2016 be that year you finally take your dream golf getaway at French Lick Resort. Play the courses champions play.
Folks, I promise you, it is spectacular. My family and I went up there and spent some time last summer. We're already looking forward to going back again this year. The French Lick Resort needs to be on your list of places to stay and play. And oh, by the way, my friends, they also have a casino right there on the property as well. For more information and to book your stay, go to FrenchLick.com. We are also sponsored this week by our new friends over at the Leather Shop. Folks, do you have difficulty in finding shoes that really fit well for your unique feet? Well, with spring coming, chances are you're going to be looking for either new golf shoes or perhaps a nice pair of Oxford or some loafers. Check out our friends at the Leather Shop, the only company in the world with the ability to provide true custom fit, handcrafted, full-grain leather shoes and boots right there online. That's right, no need to even leave the house, my friends. The best part? The models on their websites are sort of mere suggestions. You can request customizations to any design that they show. Submit your own unique design if you like that as well. No extra charge involved to do that. For more information, visit their website. You can find them the-leather-shop.com. You can also go to our site, nextonthetee.net, and click on their shop logo right there at the bottom of our homepage. Go to their site, click on your country's flags because they've got different varieties and availabilities around the world. Check it out. You'll find it out in the upper left-hand corner. Click on your appropriate flag, and they'll get right to their site. Again, the-leather-shop.com. And all right, folks, the most important thing to us every single week is to kick the show off by saluting our brave men and women serving in every branch of our military. We want to thank all of you for the daily sacrifices that you and your families make to protect our freedoms and our liberties. We also want to thank our veterans for all that you and your families have done for us over the years. It's through the strength of our military personnel that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and the wonderful folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It is such an honor for us to have Next on the Tee be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. Also want to remind our veterans out there, please be sure to check out globalvoiceforveterans.org. You hear me talking about it every single week here. It is a great site. You're going to find a lot of news and articles and a wealth of information specifically geared towards our veterans out there. I'm sure you're going to find it both interesting and beneficial for you. Again, globalvoiceforveterans.org. All right, now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Dr. Joe Parent. Dr. Joe is the author of several books, like I say, including Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Side of the Game, and Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens. He is also a keynote speaker and an executive coach. He also does life coaching, performance coaching, mindful awareness training. He's a sports psychologist on both the PGA and LPGA tours. You can get a personal lesson from Dr. Joe by going to his website. You can do it, in person or via Skype. He's got a new book out called The Best Diet Book Ever, which we're going to talk about as well. So, good morning, Dr. Joe. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Chris. Very good. I'm here in beautiful Ojai, California, in Southern California, and we had a lot of rain last night, which we really needed, and now the sun is shining.
Good for you. It's a great way to kick off your morning, and Doc, we're gonna talk a lot about the things in and around the game of golf that you're so good at helping us kind of get our minds right, and we talk about that a lot on this show, the mental side of the game because so much of golf is mental. Well, I want to kick off today's show though by talking about your new book, The Best Diet Book Ever. Talk about the genesis of that book and why that was a topic that you wanted to tackle and get more information out about.
Well, this is something that I've been working on over many years. When I would feel like I'd put on a little too much weight, I started getting uncomfortable in my clothes and felt a little dumpy and said, you know what, I think I need to lose some weight. And what I did was I used the principles from sports psychology that are the basis of Zen Golf and Zen Putting. And last year I performance, and I used the principles in business. So I applied those principles to working with my health, with my wellness. And the key elements are awareness, being aware of what you're doing while you're doing it, which is the essential definition of mindfulness, and the habit change technique that I introduced in Zen Golf that allows you to simply and painlessly change your habits. Because to lose weight and keep it off, and any kind of exercise program, any kind of wellness program where you're changing something about your life, you can't just do a drastic quick fix and then expect it to last. It takes time for it to sink in, and you have to actually change your habits in relation to food and exercise. It's the same thing that I write in Zen Golf. Quick fixes are like Band-Aids or patches on a coat that come off. If you want to really make a fundamental change to your game, it takes time and it takes patience. So what I found was these drastic diets, like Oprah came on several years ago and said, I lost 67 pounds, and she actually wheeled out a little red toy wagon with a big plastic bag and 67 pounds of fat on it. And everybody was horrified and said, this is what it looks like. I can't even lift it, and this is what I was carrying around, my poor heart. So it was very evident. But 2 or 3 years, I think 2 years later, she'd put it all back on because she'd done a drastic liquids-only diet. And what I found was you can change your eating habits, and the exciting thing, the reason I call this the best diet book ever is because there are no menus or recipes. It's all about how you relate to food. So it's a positive approach rather than a punishing approach. Most diets, everybody feels like, oh, time to go on a diet, time to go to jail, and be punished and in prison, and I'm not allowed to have what I like. And you know what? I didn't stop eating anything. I just ate smaller portions of it. Still had dessert, 2 bites instead of 2 pounds of dessert. But if you eat slowly and mindfully, you get even more flavor out of it. So this book, and it was fun. The title was available when I went online. So I said, how can I not name my book the best diet book ever? And it's exciting because you get to eat whatever you want and gradually change your habits and increase your awareness. So you get to enjoy food more and weigh less. And not many people get to do both of those. It's very exciting.
Yes, right. So the book talks about giving you the freedom to enjoy. You talk about words like punishing and enjoy, right? The book gives you the freedom to enjoy positive choices, right, rather than the pain and sacrifice that we're used to with strict diets. So it's very different from the typical diet book. Talk about your positive choice model.
Okay, the positive choice model is instead of the restrictions. And I think the key words here that are very important because a lot of people who are looking to lose weight get down on themselves, and they get down on themselves for being overweight, so they feel badly about themselves, and then they diet as a kind of deserved punishment for being bad, and that's all the negative right. Model. The positive choice model is, and here are the key words, empowerment rather than imprisonment. Once you set your intention and say, I would rather be light than heavy, I would rather be thinner than fatter, and I will make the changes I can make, that I want to make, to move in the direction of my intention. And so it's a positive choice that you're making, so that when you choose to, sometimes there's a pie place near us that makes this great pie, and I get a piece of pie, but I eat a third of that piece for dessert one night, and a third the next night, and a third. So over 3 days, I have a piece of pie, which means that I'm taking in a third of the calories that I would have taken in before. It's really simple math. And but I'm enjoying it, but I know when to stop. And that's the thing that's the hardest for people. But when you choose when to stop rather than not even being allowed to start, you're empowered to make your choices.
Wow, that is great stuff. And Doc,
yeah,
I know
it's really it's really exciting that way. And I want to tell you, you have a great sponsor, that coffee company.
Yes.
And one of the reasons that I didn't put any menus or recipes in is because the science around food is constantly changing. One of the passages in the book is, are coffee, chocolate, or red wine good for you or bad for you? If you don't like the answer, wait a few months. Because coffee used to be bad for you, and now they're saying, oh, it's good for you. And not long ago, red wine or chocolate were bad for you, and now dark chocolate's good for you, and one glass of red wine is good for you. So science keeps changing, and I wanted this book to be perpetual. So it's whatever healthiest and most enjoyable food that you can eat. Now, here's another positive choice model. One of the reasons people eat too much is they don't eat good food. And if you have food that doesn't taste that great, you don't get the taste satisfaction that triggers your brain to say that's enough. So you eat more, hoping that the next bite will get you to that level of taste satisfaction. And you can go through 3 fast food cheeseburgers and still never get there. But you can have something that's really fine and one small piece of really good steak, and guess what? You're satisfied. So it's all about making good choices and being aware of getting the taste satisfaction that you need.
Wow, that's great stuff. And it seems so true, right? Because we're as a society, I think we're in such a rush to get to the next thing, or if we're rushing through lunch because something with work, or we're on our way somewhere, and you're right, you don't get the opportunity to savor what you're eating, so you just continue to eat more and more and more. That's great.
That's right. I have a chapter called Savor the Flavor, and you really clicked into this, and that is that our minds aren't on what we're doing, and that's why the mindfulness training.
Right.
Because we're either reading or watching TV or checking our emails or surfing the web or whatever social media we're connected to, and we're shoveling food while our mind is on something else and not even tasting it. And the momentum of the shoveling goes on until the food's gone. Well, we could just keep eating forever that way and not be clued into when we've had enough.
Right.
And so I have a special technique I want to share, and that is, and you can even pretend if you don't have any food in front of you, you can pretend that you're holding a knife and fork, and you take a bite of food, and what we usually do is we start cutting and preparing the next bite while we're chewing the one that's in our mouth. So our attention goes to cutting, and we miss the flavor of what we're eating. So what I want you to do is after you take that bite, pretend you're doing that. Pretend you had a bite and you start cutting. You're really not paying attention, and you still have the tension of holding tightly onto the knife and fork. What if you set them down? You take your bite and set them down. You know what I see people do? Their shoulders drop, they sit back in their chair, they relax, and sometimes they close their eyes and really enjoy the taste of what they're eating. And it slows everything down. They get more flavor. And halfway through the meal, they go, "Oh, you know what? I'm satisfied. I'm going to put this away and have it for lunch tomorrow." So it's by doing that without trying, you're satisfied sooner, so you don't eat as much, and you cut the calories and you lose weight. You lose weight because you enjoy it more. Isn't that cool?
Yes, that is very cool. I love that. And Dr. Parent, you some of the people that you're working with, and Christy Kerr does a wonderful endorsement of your book because it helped her drop 65 pounds, and not only drop the pounds, but keep it off. Talk about working with Christy.
Well, it's great to work with Christy. She is a fierce competitor and a really incredible person. She just won the Bartlett Award for Humanitarian Services that the Golf Writers Association awards each year for her work with breast cancer. Now, she lost this weight long before the book came out, but she used essentially the same principles because she was very, very overweight, and it was interfering with her golf game. And she turned pro and hadn't won yet. And she made the decision. She lost 60 pounds and almost 10 inches from her waist. Over 60 pounds. And then she started winning because she started feeling better about herself and had more confidence and said, boy, if I could do that, I could do anything. Mm-hmm. And she used the same principles of making better choices of foods that she wanted to eat, but ones that she knew were better for her, rather than punishing herself. And of course, as a golfer, she had to be in shape, so she worked a little harder in the gym. And by keeping to that principle, she's been able to keep the weight off for nearly 20 years and be the second leading all-time money winner on the LPGA Tour. She won twice last year at the age of 38.
Right. And Doc, one of the other things that I love in this book is you talk about how many of us also have sort of a poverty mentality when it comes to dieting. We feel like failures if we slip or if we binge, which comes from the mistaken belief that in order to be who we want to be, we need to be different than the person that we are. Talk about that.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because it goes along with the signature story of the book, which is that we think that something's missing and that there's something wrong with us, and we need to be different or get something we don't have in order to be the person we want to be. And that's the signature story of Zen Golf as well. We always think there's something missing. I need the magic key or the secret of golf, and really mostly it's getting in our own way. And so what my basic introduction, whether it's sports or business or life coaching, is I'll help people like you get out of your own way and get the most out of your capabilities. And that's a richness mentality. You have the capabilities, but they're just covered up. The poverty mentality is, I'm missing something, I'm a bad person and I need to be different. The richness mentality is, you're a good person, but you've gotten into bad habits. And it's all about changing habits. And once you start changing habits, then you can take a positive approach, because here's the real key for golf too. Intention shapes behavior. If your intention is to avoid the lake on the left, you'll bomb it out of bounds on the right. But if your intention is to play the smart shot into the fairway, you'll aim at the right side of the fairway and have a positive intention of where you want to go. And that's where the positive choice model came out for the diet book. So whether it's golf or business or dieting or anything else in your life, you want to take a positive direction of where you want to go. You want to build on your strengths and notice the habits that get in your way. It's not there's something wrong with you. It's something that is in the way, either in your understanding or your habits. And as soon as you clarify that or change your habits, you'll be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
One of the other things you talk about are the 3 2s and the 3 S's. Talk about what those are.
Okay. So 100,000 years ago, human beings had a little trouble finding food. And if they found it, there were animals or other tribes or whatever ready to take it away from them. And there were no preservatives and no refrigerators. So we are hardwired to eat as much as we can, as fast as we can, until it's gone. In other words, we're hardwired to eat too much, too fast, for too long. And the remedy is changing that habit. So we want to eat smaller amounts, we want to eat more slowly, and we want to stop earlier. So smaller, slower, and stop are the 3 S's. And you know what about stopping? This is really interesting. Our brains have some lag time. And I talk about this in golf and in dieting. In dieting, our brains have lag time. It takes 15 to 20 minutes for the brain to register just how full your stomach is. That's why sometimes you eat and you finish your plate and you go, I think I'm still a little hungry. I think I'll have seconds. And you get another plate and you eat that and you go, yeah, that's better. And about 10 minutes later you go, oh my God, I'm stuffed. Why did I eat so much? It's because you didn't stop after the first plate, take a little walk for 10 minutes, and let the message from your stomach get to your brain. It's like our gas tank. If you fill your gas tank in the car while the engine, while the battery's on, it shows it's 3/4 full when the pump clicks off. You go, what's wrong? Well, it just takes time to catch up, and then gradually you see, oh, there it goes, and then it goes to full or past full. That's what happens to our stomach. So if we eat more slowly, and we take some gaps and don't go back right away for seconds, or go back for seconds at all, in 10 minutes we'll actually feel satisfied. Now in golf it's the same thing, and I watch players, practice a pitch shot or a chip shot, and they've made a lot of practice swings, and then at the last minute they change their mind, and then they take another club, make one or two swings, and play their shot, and they hit it poorly. And they hit it poorly because their body thinks they still have the first club in their hands. Their brain didn't register the change of clubs and get the message to their muscles. I watched this happen with at the U.S. Open, Colin Montgomery, last hole. He made about a dozen practice swings for a long time. Actually, he was playing with BJ, who I coached for many years. And there was a ruling, and he had all this extra time, and he's swinging his 6-iron, and he's swinging his 6-iron, and he's swinging his 6-iron. And then he said, at the last minute, he says, I think it's too much club. I'm going to go with a 7-iron. I'm going to go with the strong 7 instead of the soft 6. He takes the 7-iron, and he makes his swing, and it doesn't get anywhere near reaching the green. And he goes, what the heck just happened? Well, he made the soft 6 swing with the 7-iron because his body thought that's what he still had in his hands. He didn't take enough swings with the new club to give it time to sink in. So there's a golf tip that also applies to dieting. Stop sooner on eating. Give it time to sink, your brain time to catch up to your stomach. In golf, if you switch clubs, make enough practice swings, or let's say you decide, well, you know what, instead of hitting a little cut, I think I'm going to take one less club and try to hit a draw. Well, your body thinks you're still making a cut swing unless you've made a half a dozen draw swings. So take a little extra time, change their practice swings, and get the feel for the new club, and then you'll hit a better shot.
That's great stuff. And Doc, let's sort of build on that a little bit, and a little bit on Zen Golf. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on this show is the quote from Bobby Jones about how competitive golf is played mainly on the 5.5-inch course, the space between our ears. And you wrote a little twist on that sort of thing in your book. You wrote, no matter how sophisticated their equipment or their knowledge about the swing, if golfers don't know how to work with their minds on the course, they encounter the common mental obstacles that keep them from realizing their potential. Performance anxiety, emotional reactions, distractions interfere with golfers' abilities. Overcoming such obstacles is the key to breaking through to lower scores. Talk about that.
Okay, so let's switch over from the dieting, which has the same mental obstacles, confidence, and how do you recover when you have a slip or a binge, and the anxiety of being in social situations where everybody says, I have a chapter called With Friends Like These. They say, come on, one cookie won't hurt. Come on, just this one time. It creates a lot of anxiety. So it's really important to be able to recognize what's going on in your mind and clear away the interference. So I want people to be able to, they can go to zengolf.com. There's also thebestdietbookever.com, and that's where they can find it. Now, for golfers, I watched Phil at the World Golf Championships. It was interesting. I happened to see the scores at the end. I'd watched the first 9 or 10 holes. When he'd finished 9 or 10 holes, he was 9 under par, and he was playing awesome. He just birdied 4 holes in a row. And I saw his final score was 5 under. I go, what the heck happened? Mm-hmm. And he started missing a couple of short putts, and it created. He talked about getting a little ahead of himself and trying a little too hard, and then he tried to hit too cute a shot with his pitching wedge. And, of course, the sportscaster's jinx came up and said, no one's hit it in the water on this hole all day. Kaplunk. There he went in. and he ended up taking a double bogey on a par 3, and I went, oh, well, there's half of the 4 strokes that he dropped, and then it kind of unraveled. And I want players to be able to recognize what's going on, so that when they start getting on the bogey, that they don't get on the bogey train. They just get on they get one stop. There's a bogey. Okay, what do I do on that hole that got in my way, and what can I do differently on the next holes? And after a bad shot, particularly, we get upset and we get anxious. And what I'd like players to do is to actually chill out, take a deep breath, calm themselves down with a deep breath, and then don't leave that spot. Don't leave that spot with a bad swing, because what you'll do is you'll compensate for it on your next one. Instead, stay right there, take your deep breath, set up as if the ball's still there, and make the swing you would have rather made. And if you don't do it on the first one, do another one. Even if it takes 3 or 4, and then you say, that swing would be much better. Might not be perfect, but much better. Then you can leave. And that way you never leave a spot with a bad swing in your mind. You leave with the feeling of a good swing, and again, here's the positive choice model. The positive intention to make that swing and prepare properly next shot, rather than going to the next shot and saying, okay, now how do I avoid making a bad swing?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember as I follow you on Twitter at Zen Putter, right? Or at Zen Golf on
Zen
Twitter.
Golfer.
Zen Golfer. That's
Zen
right.
Golfer.
I'm sorry. Yeah. As I follow you on Twitter, that's something that I remember you pointing out, a while back about Jordan Spieth. When you look at, some of the things that he has done, I think you call it erase and replace, right? When he made a poor swing, that he came back and retraced that until he was happy with it and moved on, right? Erase and replace.
That's exactly right. And you see some players and some people just, I saw one guy bury the club and bury a 7-iron in the tee and walk on. That's kind of the exact opposite. But he made a pretty good swing when he buried that 7-iron into the ground, or tossed it into the lake. I remember Rory tossed one into the lake. I said, now that was a better swing than he made when the club was in his hands. He made a beautiful swing throwing that club into the lake. It was great. But that's not the post-shot routine I recommend. It is a post-shot routine, and you don't just make a little swish through the grass or hold a different position. You might do that to feel what the difference was, but then you actually make a full speed swing as if there's a ball there, and say that's the one I would have rather made, and then you can move on and feel like. And your brain doesn't know the difference and thinks, yeah, that was my swing. And
again, at Zen Golfer is how you can follow Dr. Joe on Twitter. No. And Doc, is like I say, some of the other things that I find interesting on your Twitter feed is you congratulated Bubba Watson on his recent victory at Riviera, and you also retweeted something that he said, and what he tweeted out is, my golf game is all about imagination turned into something real, right? Which is, again, kind of getting back to, in our minds and turning stuff that's in our minds, into, reality and actions out on the golf course. When you read that, what struck you about it?
Well, one thing that struck me before that was when they talked about the young guns, and I still think of Bubba as a young gun. He's 37. He's been around a long. He looks so young. And he talks, and, acts like a little kid. It's great. He's so childlike. The problem is, for the first 10 or 12 years of his career, he wasn't just childlike; he was childish. And he got very frustrated as soon as he hit a couple bad shots and lost his marbles. And His talent hasn't increased a tremendous amount, but his mental game has improved a tremendous amount. So that he hits a bad shot, it doesn't frustrate him. He says, okay, well, that happened. Now what do I do next? I'm the best at wild recovery shots where I can, make a 9-iron turn at 90 degrees and, put 60 yards of hook on a 9-iron like to win the Masters. Well, so why am I getting so upset? Let's just accept it, be more patient, and go to the next one. And he said, the mind has been the most powerful thing, and the reason why he is as successful as he is. And it took him a long, long time. What I like to think is he learned that through maturity and the pain and suffering of trial and error for 12, 15 years on the PGA Tour. I'd like to be able to help people achieve that in a year or year and a half instead of a decade or a decade and a half.
You've also commented in the past about Jordan Spieth's practice of sort of looking at the hole versus down at the ball, and particularly on short putts. Is that from a visualization and from a positive mental image? Is that something we all should be trying to do?
Well, I have a special technique in relation to that. But as far as Jordan goes, you think he's just looking at the hole. I don't think he's just looking at the hole. People get so narrowly focused. They say, what should I look at? And some pros say, look at one dimple on the ball. Well, the problem with that is you're looking at a dimple on the ball, you lose connection with the hole and the distance. So you can look at that dimple on the ball and hit the dimple on the ball. Did you hit it with the right speed? No idea, because you lost connection with how far away the hole was. Now, I don't mind that on a 2 or 3 foot putt where speed, a straight in putt where speed doesn't matter. But where it does matter, you need to see the whole thing. So the reason Jordan just does this on 6 feet and in or so is because he can look at the hole, look toward the hole, not at, look toward the hole, and still see out of the corner of his eye the ball in front of his feet. Check it out. Just look at something straight in front of you, and then look over 6 feet to your left, and it's still there. You can still see it. You can see both. He's not only seeing the hole and the ball, he's seeing the whole path. The putter arc, and the path the ball is going to take all the way to the hole. He sees the whole thing as one unified field or unified hole, rather than separate pieces of putter, ball, and hole, which is great. So he's not looking at the ball. He's seeing the ball and the hole at the same time. Now, I do the reverse. You look toward the ball, but out in the corner of your eye, you can see the hole. And you should soften your gaze so you see the whole thing, not just look sharply at the ball. You look toward the ball, but you see the whole path. Now, once you get to a longer putt, what I want you to do is look for about 3 seconds as the very last thing that you do before you look back towards the ball. Look for about 3 seconds and imprint that distance in your mind to the hole. Look back to the ball, bring that picture back to mind, because your brain doesn't know the difference between a picture from your memory or a picture from your eyes. And then when you have that picture in mind, it's as if you're looking toward the ball, but you're looking at the hole 20 feet away, and roll it into the picture.
And in your book, Zen Putting, and it's interesting you talk about all these things with our eyes and our minds. You talk about seeing in your mind's eye that the putt has already been completed, right? As you talk about, putting it towards the picture, right? The ball, you envision the ball already in the hole. It means there's no need to sort of try to get it in the hole. That leaves you free to let your body execute your process without trying too hard. Describe that a little further.
Well, it came from a great moment. I was with VJ in a practice round at PGA at Whistling Straits where he won, and he was playing a practice round with Paul Azinger, and they got going, and VJ was about 15 feet away, and Paul was about 20 feet away, and Paul holed his, and he said, "Oh, you better you better now you got to hold yours, VJ. He said, he said, I already hold it, which meant in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I already hold it. Now I'm just going to do what I already saw, and he hold it. It was great. So all it means is you see the path and the speed, and you visualize it in real time. The path and the speed of the ball going. Imagine. And people say I can't visualize. What I mean is imagine that the ball is rolling down. I mean, you're reading the putt, so you imagine the ball is rolling along the green, and as it slows, it starts to turn, and see the point and the speed at which it rolls over the edge of the hole. You say, that's what I want to produce. And the clearer picture you give to your brain of what you want to produce, the better job it'll do in instructing your muscles to do that. Simple learning and performance theory. The better picture you give, the better job your brain will do in giving messages to your muscles to produce that picture. So see the putt is already in the hole, and then get it started.
I'm talking to Dr. Joe Parent here on Next on the Tee. He's the author of Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Game, Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens, and his new book is called The Best Diet Book Ever. Just a couple more before we let you go, Doc. We also, when we're in the midst of our rounds, we all, a great many of us, almost all of us, will encounter some sort of adversity when we're on the golf course, whether we make a bad swing, we make a bad putt, whatever it is. Talk about what we can do in between shots when negative thoughts start to creep into our minds.
Okay, that's a pretty good one because, basically human beings are hardwired to anticipate. Again, we look at our ancestors, and they're walking around a big boulder, and one of them says, there might be a bear on the other side of this boulder, and he's ready to run. And the other one's just going doot-de-doo, doot-de-doo, doot-de-doo. Well, guess what? When they get around the boulder and see the bear, it's the old story of two guys camping, and a bear comes and one starts running. He says, "You can't outrun a bear," and he says, "I don't have to outrun a bear. I just have to outrun you."
Right.
So the guy who wasn't anticipating danger out of the gene pool. So we're kind of on edge from our prehistoric ancestors to anticipate danger, and so we get anxious ahead of time. Now, what we want to do is get back to the present moment. And so instead of saying, one bad swing, that means I'm going to have a bad day, we say, okay, that was a bad swing. Take a breath, as I said before, calm down. Now, what got in the way there? Because that's not my usual game. That was really an aberration. That was something different. Something got in the way.
Right.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to avoid this. I bailed out, or I wasn't really ready. I went ahead, and I wasn't really feeling comfortable over the ball. Take a step out and get comfortable. I don't want to slow play down, but sometimes taking a few seconds to get comfortable, it takes less time than 5 minutes looking in the woods.
Right.
So a little bit of preparation, and then you move on to the next. Now I think the biggest adversity is people's preoccupation with score, because you make a triple bogey and you go, my round's ruined for the day, and you get very frustrated, or you say, I made a bogey, I got to get one back, and then you press and try too hard, and that's when you get on the bogey train. So instead, I'd rather you say, okay, that hole's done, and the negative thoughts are out of your mind if you did the erase and replace, and you say, okay, I know what I did there. And if it was a bad hole, you say, you know what? I know what I did there. I didn't give myself enough room when I shot for a tight pin, and I short-sighted myself. Okay, learning opportunity. Instead of beating yourself up, treat what happened as a learning opportunity. Then you make it a positive rather than a negative.
And just to kind of take that one step further, Doc, one of the early chapters in Zen Golf is talking about thinking outside the box. And you talk about, how a double bogey or whatever can now ruin my score because now I'm trying to get that back. But you talk about viewing our scores differently in relation to our own par for what we typically shoot, not what's on the scorecard, which is sort of a more positive way for us to view ourselves during the course of the round, right? If I'm a 10 or 12 handicap, and I'm going to shoot 82 to 85, right? And thinking about, okay, now I've made a bogey or a double bogey. Now I'm really just talking about how I'm playing, to my own score, not really trying to look at how I score in relation to going out and potentially shooting 72. Talk about how that sort of frees our minds up to really more enjoy the game.
Well, originally par changed based on the conditions, and par was originally the qualifying point for the city championships. So we're talking about championship golf. We're talking about scratch. Par is the standard for scratch golfers, not for 10, especially not for 18 or 20 handicappers. And 18 is about the average male handicap. So we're talking about for the vast majority of golfers, par is completely inappropriate on the scorecard. They also changed it according to the weather and the conditions. So, if it's windy and raining, par might be 78 that day for a scratch golfer. And you've seen conditions at the British Open where they say, well, the field average today was 77. Well, guess what? That was par that day. Okay, so what you can do is change the scorecard literally. I mean, if you're an 18 handicapper that hits the ball 220 off the tee, well, a 440-yard par 4 isn't a par 4 for you. It's a par 5. Think about how many holes on your golf course you have more than, let's say, a 6-iron in to the green. Let's say 5-iron. You have more than a 5-iron into the green. If you have more than a 5-iron into the green, then for scratch golfers, that's the equivalent of a par 5. So you should change the scorecard. An 18 handicapper on their scorecard only has par 4s, par 5s, and par 6s. And once you do that, then that's pretty reasonable. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful? You're an 18 handicapper. You'll never, ever say I shot 2 under if you look at the scorecard. But if you're an 18 handicapper on a par 72 course and your par is 90 and you shoot an 88, you can walk into the clubhouse. They say, what'd you shoot? And you said 2 under.
Right.
How about that? That's fun.
Right. Yeah.
2 under.
Absolutely.
Nice. And that feels good. And then you don't press. You look at the hole. You got a 3-wood distance in, and you see it says par 5 on your card rather than 4. You say, well, it's too much trouble around the green. I'll just hit a 7-iron and a pitching wedge. How much less stress is that? And you still got a chance to make a 4.
And
instead
to
of
that
making
end,
a 7 like you would if you hit the 3-wood.
Right. But and to the end of all of that, Doc, for those of us, when you're on the precipice of perhaps shooting, your best score ever, right? If you are an 18 handicap, right, and you're coming into the final hole, knowing that if you were to make 5 or 6, I'm going to shoot 89 for the first time, or for folks, whatever that magic number is, you're going to break 100 for the first time, you're going to break 90 or 80. How do we relax our minds so that we don't press too much, and then all of a sudden, we take a 7, and now I'm back and I shot 91 or 2?
It's interesting that you said 7. That's kind of the magic number. That's the one that everybody hits when they blow a hole. They say all I need is bogey, and they make a 7, whether it's a par 4 or par 5.
Right.
It's amazing. That's the number that shows up. So instead, you just say, you know what? I'm not going to change my game plan. I'm going to play this hole, And what I like to tell them is, imagine that you're still on the 12th or 13th hole, and you got a whole bunch more holes to go. Forget that you're on the 18th. It also helps not to keep score, but of course we have our quote, friends, end quote. Do you know that if you make bogey,
right.
you shoot a 99? Oh, thanks, man. That's just what I needed to hear. Please, keep it to yourself. Come on, I was having a good time, and now I'm not. And, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. But the point is, if you start trying to prevent making a mistake instead of playing the best you can, you'll make the mistake. It's like a prevent defense in football. What do they say a prevent defense does? It prevents winning.
Right.
So don't play a prevent defense in golf. Just say now. At the same time, you can think the hole through and just say, you know what? There's so much trouble in the landing area. I'm going to turn this into a par 5, and I'm going to hit 7-iron. There's 300, and 9-iron. There's 120. Onto the middle of the fat part of the green, and 2-putt. There you go.
So, the other thing that you bring up in there, right, is, the idea of, preventing mistakes and the prevent defense and all of that sort of thing. When we are looking at a hole that we are going, that we're on, and we see, well, I could, if I miss, I can bail out to the right and still be okay, versus going for, if I hit it straight and make the green because maybe I've got, a big sand trap out on the left or there's water on the left. Is thinking I've got bailout on the right frame of mind to get into? Because would we then hit the ball to the right, and now I've sort of taken myself out of the opportunity to make par or better? How should we approach that mentally?
Well, instead of thinking about the number and the score, your job is to shoot the lowest score you can on the hole. And this is a game plan that everybody can use on every hole, no matter what your score is up to that point. I want to make the best score I can on this hole without taking unnecessary risks. So if there's water to the left of the green, and there's an easy pitch from short rough out to the right, don't call it a bailout. Say, I want to hit it there. That's my choice, a positive choice rather than a negative. See, we go back to the positive choice model.
Right.
I choose that. It's not that I'm not allowed to aim for the green. It's that I choose that because Tommy Armour about 100 years ago had a simple course management technique that I've shared with people. Hit the club you're most comfortable hitting, and hit it to a place that gives you the easiest next shot. So you might be a 5-iron from the green, but there's a big bunker in front, and if you don't carry it, you're going to dump it in, you're going to plug it in the face of the bunker, and if you do carry it, it'll run off the back of the green, and you're not all that comfortable hitting your 5-iron. Yet, if you hit an 8-iron, then you've got about a 40-yard pitch with plenty of green to work with from the right. You go, low-stress shot, and you hit your 8-iron, and you pitch it on. I actually had a player do that in qualifying school and aim away from the green, pitched it on, rolled in the putt. He walked off the tee and off the green and said to me, "Conserving mental energy, Doc, conserving mental energy." Because it's very stressful hitting that other shot. Yet this one, low stress. And there's just so much stress you can put on yourself through. Now, they're playing 6 rounds at Q School, so, by the end, they're completely out of gas mentally. But, for the weekend golfer, as you come in those last 4 or 5 holes, you might be out of gas physically and mentally. So don't try shots that you're not comfortable with, except, would you rather have a sure bogey or risk a double or triple? Sure bogey with a chance for a 4, or sure double with a chance for a quad? Easy choice.
Right. I'm talking with Dr. Joe Parent, the author of Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Side of the Game, and Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens, as well as his new book, The Best Diet Book Ever. Doc, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can follow you both online, perhaps book a lesson with you as well, and then follow you on social media.
Well, we're on Facebook as Zen Golf, the Mastering the Mental Game, and Twitter as @ZenGolfer. But the simplest thing to do is go to zengolf.com and click for the free weekly newsletter. It's actually not a newsletter. It's just a quote of the week. It's just a few lines, and we put it on Facebook, and it almost fits on Twitter. So it's not a lot of reading. You'll just get a quote of the week, and we don't use the emails or give them to anybody else. And that'll keep you up to date with me. And what's exciting is I give lessons all over the world, by phone, by Skype, by FaceTime, by any video voice device, and it's really like being there. It's very cool. I had a pro in Australia who had his coach bring his iPad out, or his tablet. I don't even know if it was an iPad. It was a tablet, and we got on Skype, and I gave him a putt. I helped cure his yips with putting and improve his chipping, and he qualified for the Asian Tour. And
wow.
and I was here in California, and he was in Australia, and I could see that I had different angles. It was like I walked around him. The pro just held the tablet and said, I said, line up behind him. Now line up behind the ball so I can see the putter face. Now line up behind him so I can see how his shoulders and his feet are lined up towards the target. And now face on because I want to see his ball position. It was great. It was like being there, and it was a live putting lesson. I did one. I've done them all over the world and transformed people's putting. But
wow,
that is by video.
That is, the idea, right? I mean, it's so cool now that we have so many different applications in so many ways,
amazing, isn't it?
Right, to communicate with one another. That you can give a golf lesson to somebody, halfway around the world without having to be there. That is fantastic stuff.
I was just doing it by text with Christy Kerr in Singapore, and by a FaceTime voice call to Julieta Granada in Singapore. And she called me after her first couple of rounds. She had 33 and 36 putts in her first two rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about her putting on the phone, and in her second two rounds, she had, I've got it here, so she went 36 and 33 putts, and then rounds 3 and 4 she had 27 and 22 putts.
Wow.
Yeah. From she went from one, I think
from 2 putts a hole?
Yeah, three over and 1 over, and then she went to 2 under and 4 under.
Wow, that's amazing.
So and that was by phone from Singapore.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So it really does work.
Yeah, clearly it does. Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining me again this morning and being so generous with your time. Always a privilege.
You do a great job asking the questions and posing them and giving me the space to answer. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to your listeners. And you know what? Thank you again for supporting the veterans. And we care about the men and women in uniform, and the ones who've already served and aren't being taken care of. It's really sad. So please do everything you can to support the veterans.
Absolutely right. No, thank you for pointing that out, Doc. Yeah, we can't do enough for for our folks that are serving now and keeping us all safe, but also for our veterans and the veterans' families for the sacrifices that they make. We mean that sincerely every week when we talk about that on this show.
I agree completely. So thank you.
Well,
and I look forward to seeing people. Let me know what you thought of the show at Zen Golfer or drop me a line for zengolf.com. And if you want to lose weight painlessly, just get the best diet book ever.
There you go. Doc, thanks again for being here. I hope you'll come back again on the show soon. I always love the opportunity to talk with you and to get your insights for, not only, from a mental standpoint, but what you're seeing, going on around the game of golf. You're fantastic to have as part of the show.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. Happy to do it. Let's do it again soon. Take care, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Doc. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Okay, bye.
That is Dr. Joe Parent. Again, the books, Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Side of the Game, and Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens, and his new book, The Best Diet Book Ever. So please, check him out online. And again, you can follow him on Twitter. It's at Zen Golfer. Please, check him out. Doc is absolutely fantastic. All right, folks, before we put a bow on this one, I want to remind everyone about our friends and partner over at the Salute Military Golf Association and PGA Tour, Jim Estes. Let's hear from them about all the great things that they're doing over there.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Yeah, folks, they are doing some amazing things at the Salute Military Golf Association. To find out more information and to see how you can get involved, check out their site. It's smga.org. All right, everyone. My sincere thanks again to Dr. Joe Parent for joining me today and making today's show so much fun for me to be a part of. I hope you enjoyed it. He's got such great information. And he's doing some amazing things to help folks lose weight and get our minds right. Please check him out and follow him online as well. Thank you to him for being a part of today's show. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazzari and our announcer Joe LaGenusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stream or download it from Blog Talk Radio. You can hear it on Armed Forces Radio and ArmedForcesRadioNetwork.org. You can also find that show and this show on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player.fm, SoundCloud as well. We are all over the place. Please check us out. We appreciate the fact that you are tuning in and listening. On Thursday Night Tailgate, just to remind everyone about that show, we are joined every single week by legends and stars from around the NFL, the CFL as well. Our new friends over at Major League Football, the new spring league that is starting up. You can find them online at mlfb.com. So please, you can also find us on Facebook. You can interact with either show, Thursday Night Tailgate, Next on the Tee. You can find us on Facebook. Give us a like. That's important to us as well. If you've got a comment or a question that you want us to address, please, feel free to give it to us on Facebook. You can find us online. This show, nextonthetee.net. You can stream or download any of our archived episodes by going on to our site, ThursdayNightTailgate.com. You can do it on that site as well. We've got all of our archived episodes. You can stream or download them for free, folks, by going to either site. Thanks again for choosing to listen to this show today. We appreciate you guys the very most for doing so. We know you've got a lot of choices out there for shows and podcasts to listen to. We can't thank you enough for making Next on the Tee one of them. Until next week, my friends, hit 'em straight.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors, and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Saturday to hear more stories about the game we love from the people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.